for your service. Are we recording?
Yes.
All right, take number 47. Hey, this is episode 1 for guns. We're going to be talking about what do I buy. So a lot of people that talk to me, first time shooters, they want to know, where do I start? Kind of how much money, what should my budget look like? What do I need a light? Do I need a laser? Do I need extra mags? Before we get into it though, this video is going to be sponsored by, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button down at the bottom. So the first thing I want to talk about with the guns, what do you need it for, right? So we're looking at, do you need self-defense? Are you looking for something for hunting? Are you trying to get into long-range plinking, competitions? There's a lot of different reasons you'd have a gun. It's like any other tool. You wouldn't buy just a hammer to build a house, right? So if you want to have a comprehensive list of different guns, you would have a purpose for each gun. So obviously if you want to shoot long range, you're not going to rely solely on pistols. As good as you may be with a pistol. Same thing too, if you want to go hunting, you're not going to only buy shotguns, right? So you can't take down a muley safely with a shotgun. You need a clean, humane kill. So that's the first question that I like counter ask when somebody asks me, what should I get? So the next piece is how much money do you sink into something? So typically out of the box, if you're a first time buyer, you may not know, if you buy a pistol, they're going to give you 2 or 3 mags to start off with, and that's plenty for an average shooter. That's enough for you to have some magazines loaded. Like if you want it for self-defense, you could have one with hollow points, full metal jackets. You could take it to the range, and it just makes it a little bit easier so that you can swap magazines and do reload drills. You can shoot for longer without having to reload, because that kind of puts a damper on your range day, having to stop every magazine and reload. So the same thing with rifles typically. If you buy a rifle out of the box, it's going to come with a magazine or 2. And that depends on manufacturer, really. If you buy like a shop-built rifle, they may run a deal where you get like 5 PMags with the AR. So it's kind of whatever deal you find. I can't give you an exact number. What it won't come with though, if you buy an AR, you're not going to get any amazing side pieces. You're not going to get like a PEC 15 laser light combo whenever you buy an AR, unless you buy it from like a private seller. Right, so same thing. They may run a deal. I've seen local gun shops run deals where you get a 4x zoom optic. You'll get like a vortex, or you'll get maybe a nice piece of glass, like an aim point if you want a red dot. So you'll see those rarely with shot-built rifles or combos, because they're trying to like push a weapon or push a sight. Normally though, if you want to build your own, right? I talked about in my last video, building from 80%, you start with nothing. You don't have iron sights, you don't have anything. So that's something you'd want to invest in. So when you're looking at that, that's part of your budget, right? You're not just building the AR, you're not just starting with your 80%, you say, okay, now I have a weapon, let's go shoot, because you still need the ammunition, the magazines, you need a sling. I've got a bipod on the AR-10, so I'm going to be doing distance shooting with it. So you kind of have to tailor each weapon for what you're going to use it for. That's why a lot of people will start with pistols. It's easier to get those things set up. But it's still not going to be just buying a pistol. What a lot of people don't understand, whenever they take a pistol out of the case, it's going to come with like a little cheesy plastic holster. I've seen a lot of them come out with like 6 hours, or there was I believe a Smith & Wesson that a guy was buying at a store the other day. Came with this little cheesy range holster. It's just really something for you to start with. They don't intend for that to be a long use holster. That's something you're going to want to replace with something a little bit more modular, or that fits your specific weapon or carry style. So add that in your budget as well. It's not just buying the pistol. So I have on the table a couple things, just extra things to consider when you're buying your first weapon. So first and foremost, I do the Kydex. You guys have seen that on my page. So I have some holsters. This is for the 229 Legion. I like to make my own holsters because 1, I learned how to do it, and then 2, I save a lot of money doing it. If you want to build your own press at home, it takes about $22 to get the materials for the press. And then a sheet of Kydex on a good day you can get for like $6 to $8. So really you can save a lot of money over like the $60 holsters you find online. But you're going to need a holster for sure, so you can either make one or buy one. You can find some pretty good ones online. A good example of that is Alien Gear. So this is probably the most comfortable holster I've ever bought. It comes with like a neoprene backing, so whenever you sweat, it kind of wicks the sweat. It doesn't get all over your gun and cause corrosion. And then on the front, there's a plastic shell. Their big shtick with this is, if you buy a light or a laser, you can send in the shell and you can have it replaced with one that's going to match your lighter laser. So this is extremely comfortable. It goes inside the waistband, the clips go on the outside. I can typically wear a t-shirt with it and you can't tell. So the next thing let's talk about with holsters, you can go really minimal. So for the P80, the Gen 3 Glock that I was building, I just built a little crappy holster and put a little homemade loop on there that I made out of Kydex because I ran out of clips. This is something I was really just using for in the house. I was practicing like reloading and holstering. So past that, you're going to need your magazines. And then if you want to carry more than one mag, which is always a really good idea, you're going to need something to carry them in. The first thing, you can either get, again, Kydex, some kind of hard shell. You can buy these, you can make these, they're really cheap. What you're really looking for is a good retention. So on my Kydex, I do a rubber spacer that I can tighten the screw or loosen it, and that gives me a bit of retention so I can make it tighter or looser. My favorite option though, which a lot of people don't like, I actually like the old school nylon with the Velcro. That's the simplest for me. And the argument that you get sometimes is like, well, it's going to cause noise. Well, if you're reloading at the beginning of a firefight, they already know you're there because you're going to end a firefight. So it's really not an issue of noise by that point. That's something that's like personal preference. I know it's going to stay in that, so I trust it. Again, a lot of this is personal preference and opinion. So other than those things, other than how you carry your mags, right, and how many mags you need, holsters and all of that, what we're really looking at is what's your budget. So I can't tell you a specific pistol or rifle platform to run. That's not realistic. So I've told a lot of people when I'm starting my business down in Texas, my goal is to not force you to buy something I want you to buy, right? Because everybody's different. How I hold a gun and what gun feels comfortable to me to fire is going to be a lot different for you, based on like caliber, the grip size, a lot of different things. So I want somebody to buy something they're comfortable with. So that's really the big thing. Every gun store you go to, whether they try to push a gun on you or not, you can pretty easily say, hey, I want to hold this one, or how does this one work, right? And the person should be knowledgeable. So I've done that plenty. I walk into gun stores all the time with no intentions of buying anything. I just kind of want to browse around. And I get to talking to the clerk, and I go pick up a gun and I hold it. I see how it feels, right? So I like to test and buy things that I can get that experience so I can kind of like share it with you guys. I can share it with other shooters, with first-time gun owners, all that stuff. So go in there and hold it. See how you think you like it first before you invest in a lot of accessories, because you may hate it. Somebody may have recommended it, like, oh, get this Glock 17, and you're a tiny person and it's way too big for your frame, right? Or me, my big stick, I mean, I have them on the wall. I like H&Ks and sticks. Those may be too bulky for you, or you may not like how they feel or how they shoot, right? That's the biggest problem. So trying to remediate that, I'm trying to fix that by opening a range when I get back to Texas so I can let people test something before they buy it. You don't really see that too often around the States. So you may not know that you hate a gun until you pick it up and you shoot it and you say, wow, this thing slaps my hand like a 2x4. So really kind of test those things out. If you have a buddy that has a similar gun and they really recommend it and they push that gear on you, try their gear first before you move about it and just buy it for like $800. It's a big purchase. So let's move back to AR platforms. So how many mags should you carry for an AR? If you're a hunter, you have, in a typical magazine, a standard mill-size magazine is 30 rounds for a AR-15. So that's this right here. It's very basic. You're typically not going to run through more than 30 rounds when you're hunting. It's not going to happen. You probably will run through 1 or 2 because you should be a decent shot if you're hunting. Other than that, same thing, AR-9, it uses the same 15 mags I said that last video, holds 30, right? So it depends, again, on what you want to use the gun for. If the rifle's for hunting, you can honestly go with a 10-round magazine. It's going to be a lot shorter. It's going to snag on less things. And then if you want to go to the range, I would get some extra rifle magazines that hold 30, so you reload less. You can get your 3-shot groupings, and you can do 10 groups at a time before you get to reload. Now, granted, reloading a magazine for an AR is really not that hard. You just kind of push them in. All the extra stuff, the mag loaders, those are personal preference again, right? I can load all the magazines that I have with just my hands. You don't need a speed loader. That's just kind of a nicety. Some things you will need, regardless of platform. I have out some basic ear pro. So you can go expensive, you can go basic. It's really, again, user preference. What you want to look at is what are the decibels, right? How much does it block? Because every time you go up 1 in decibels, that's double the previous sound. So take that into account. Whenever you see guns, ARs can get pretty loud. Pistols can get pretty loud if you're shooting large calibers. Another thing you're going to need at any range, any respectable range, is going to be eye pro. So you can use sunglasses, you can buy some basic like hardware glasses, something you'd use in like a shop. really anything's going to work for that. You don't really need gloves or anything when you go fire. That's again a preference thing. And then the last thing you'll absolutely need 100%. I don't get paid. Again, I said I have 0 sponsors. I love the Otis kit. So this is a pretty expensive kit. I got this from SDI whenever I was doing school. What I like about that kit is it has everything from 12 gauge down to 22. So regardless of what platform you're running, you can easily clean with that same system. You just change out the head, you change out the bore brush, you'll change out the size of the eyelet, and you'll put those patches on there, right? So it's really easy with that kit specifically, and I know there are other kits like it. I'm just holding Otis because that's what I have in my shop. So other than the Otis kit, you can honestly clean any gun with an old toothbrush and some CLP. It's that simple. If you want like a really deep gunsmith clean and all that, you're going to need like plenty of specialty tools to take your gun apart. But typically you won't need to do that for operational. Nothing that you need to dig into your gun to clean. Everything pretty face value. I'm going to do some videos later, like I said, taking apart the AR, and I'm going to kind of show the platform from the ground up. I want to show you guys kind of what triggers I would pick and why. And it's a preference thing. I'm not just talking about what I want to buy. I'm going to talk about for different systems. Like if you wanted to run a defensive system versus a hunting system, you're going to need a different trigger. So I'm going to explain the differences. Same thing for barrels. What length of barrel and why? Like what stabilizes your round? What is, you know, your velocity that you're looking for? What's that kinetic energy you want at the end? So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about scopes. We'll talk about butt stocks. We'll talk about braces. Look at the pistol braces there on the AR-9. I'm going to kind of push in whatever you guys need to know to do your next build. So one last thing before I let you guys go. I will be having some other people come on and make videos with me, and I kind of want to hit on those specialties. So I'm going to have John McQuaid come in. He's going to talk to you guys about the difference between Cerakote and rattle can, kind of what they're good at, and how you can get that good coverage, how you can get the camo that you want. He's going to tell you guys the difference because it's really important to understand what you're getting for that money. Because a lot of people see the price of Cerakote and it's kind of daunting, so it kind of dissuades them from making that big decision. When in reality, they go with something like old school bluing on their gun, which has virtually no resistances. So take stuff like that into consideration. He's going to elaborate more on that. And I'm also going to have Ben Lacoste come in. He's going to talk to you guys about differences in gear. He's going to talk to you about big no-nos and what you're looking for as well with quality. He's a very, very big proponent of getting quality gear, okay? You get what you pay for, especially in the gun world. So if you guys have any questions about those things down in the comments, something that you'd like to see in those upcoming videos, go ahead and put that down in the comments. Make sure that you like and subscribe. Thanks, guys.